The stagecoach lurched to a stop in front of the general store, and Catherine Hayes stepped down onto the dusty street of Copper Ridge, Wyoming, her body protesting every movement. She kept her head down, her worn bonnet pulled low, hoping no one would look too closely. The bruises on her face had faded to yellow and green, but the ones hidden beneath her high-collared dress were still purple and angry. She traveled 3 weeks to get here, responding to an advertisement from a rancher named James Mitchell, who needed a wife. She hadn't told him about her past. She hadn't told him about Marcus, her brother, who'd decided that his gambling debts were her responsibility to pay, in whatever way his creditors demanded. If this story moves you, hit that like button. Stay until the end, because what happens next will show you what real strength looks like. James Mitchell was easy to spot. He stood a head taller than most men, with broad shoulders and hands that looked like they'd seen hard work. His face was weathered and serious, with deep-set gray eyes that seemed to see too much. Catherine's heart hammered as she approached him. This was her only chance. If he rejected her, she had nowhere else to go. "Mr. Mitchell?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. He turned, and his eyes widened slightly. She watched his gaze travel over her face, lingering on the fading bruise near her temple that her bonnet didn't quite hide. His jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. The silence stretched between them, heavy and terrifying. Catherine felt her hope crumbling. "I understand if you've changed your mind," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "I can work for my passage back. I won't be any trouble, I promise." James finally spoke, his voice low and rough. "Did someone do that to you?" Catherine's hand instinctively flew to her face, covering the bruise. She wanted to lie, but something in his eyes stopped her. They weren't filled with pity or disgust. They were filled with barely contained fury, but not directed at her. "Yes," she whispered. "Are they following you?" "My brother. And no, he doesn't know where I went." James's hands clenched into fists at his sides. For a moment, Catherine thought he might turn away. Instead, he picked up her small carpet bag and said 4 words that changed everything. "You're coming with me." It wasn't a question. It was a statement, firm and absolute. He started walking toward a wagon without looking back. Catherine stood frozen for a moment, then hurried after him, her ribs aching with each quick step. The ride to his ranch was quiet. Catherine stole glances at James, trying to understand this silent man who just accepted her without hesitation, bruises and all. His profile was stern, but his hands on the reins were gentle. "I'm not expecting anything," she finally said. "From our arrangement, I mean. You need help on your ranch, and I need a safe place. That's all this has to be." James glanced at her, and something softened in his expression. "What I expect is for you to heal. Everything else can wait." The ranch house was modest but well-maintained. James helped her down from the wagon with careful hands, as if she might shatter. Inside, the house was clean but sparse, the home of a man who'd been living alone for too long. "There's a room upstairs," he said, carrying her bag. "It has a lock on the inside, keys in the door. Use it whenever you want." Catherine felt tears prick her eyes. A lock. He was giving her the power to keep herself safe, even from him. That first week, James treated her like she was made of glass. He gave her space, never approached too quickly, always announced himself before entering a room. He'd leave breakfast on the table before going out to work. Slowly, carefully, Catherine began to breathe again. She threw herself into making his house a home. She cooked proper meals, mended his worn clothes, planted herbs in the kitchen garden. Every task was a way of saying thank you, of proving she was worth the kindness he'd shown her. But it was the small moments that truly began to heal her. The way James would leave wildflowers on the kitchen table without comment. How he'd fix the squeaky step because he noticed she flinched at loud noises. The evening he'd found her crying over a broken dish and had simply sat beside her, not touching, just present, until the tears stopped. "I'm sorry," she'd whispered that night. "I'm so broken." "No," James had said firmly. "You're healing. There's a difference." If you're still watching, drop a comment telling us about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. 3 months passed. Catherine's bruises faded completely, but the internal scars took longer. She still flinched at sudden movements, still had nightmares. But James never wavered. He was patient in a way she'd never experienced. One evening, she found him on the porch, staring out at the sunset. She'd been working up the courage for weeks, and now felt like the right moment. "James," she said softly, sitting beside him. "Why did you help me? That day at the store, you could have sent me away." He was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "My sister. She married a man who hurt her. I didn't know until it was too late. She died thinking she was worthless." Catherine's breath caught. "James, I'm so sorry. I couldn't save her," he continued. "But I saw you step off that coach, and I saw her. I saw someone who needed help but was too proud to ask for it. And I thought, not again. Not if I can help it." She reached out slowly and placed her hand over his. He turned his palm up, lacing his fingers through hers, and they sat like that as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. "You saved me," Catherine said gently. "You need to know that." Months turned into a year. Catherine grew stronger, her laughter coming easier, her smiles more frequent. The ranch prospered under their combined care. They'd married in a quiet ceremony, but they both understood it was still a partnership of convenience. Until the day Marcus showed up. Catherine was hanging laundry when she saw the rider approaching. She knew him instantly. Terror flooded her system, freezing her in place. "Well, well," Marcus called out, dismounting. "My little sister, playing house. You owe me, Catherine." Catherine couldn't move, couldn't breathe. But then James was there, stepping between her and Marcus, his body a wall of protection. "Get off my land," James said, his voice deadly calm. Marcus laughed. "That's my sister. She belongs to me." "She belongs to herself," James interrupted. "And she's my wife. You want to take her? You'll have to go through me. You don't know what you're protecting." Marcus sneered. James moved faster than Catherine had ever seen. One moment Marcus was talking. The next he was on the ground, James's fist connecting with his jaw. But James didn't continue. He simply stood there, towering over Marcus, radiating controlled fury. "You can ride away now," James said quietly. "Or I can call the sheriff and we can discuss how you sold your sister to pay gambling debts. Your choice." Marcus scrambled to his feet, spitting blood. Realizing he was outmatched, he mounted his horse and rode away. Catherine's legs gave out. James caught her, lowering them both to the ground, holding her as sobs racked her body. But these weren't tears of fear. They were tears of release, of finally being free. "He's gone," James murmured. "I won't let anyone hurt you ever again." "Why?" Catherine choked out. "Why do you care so much?" James pulled back just enough to look at her, his eyes fierce and tender at once. "Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being about obligation. Catherine, I love you. Not because I need to save you, but because you're brave and kind, and you make every day better." Catherine stared at him, seeing this man who'd given her safety, patience, and respect, asking for nothing in return. She saw her future in his eyes, a future without fear. "I love you too," she whispered. "You taught me I was worth saving. You taught me I was worth loving." They held each other as the sun set, two broken people who'd found wholeness in each other. James had asked for a wife, and Catherine had been looking for safety. What they'd found instead was so much more, a partnership built on respect, patience, and the kind of love that heals. That night, Catherine didn't lock her bedroom door. She didn't need to anymore. She was finally home. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they deserve kindness, safety, and love. Subscribe for more stories that remind us that healing is possible and that sometimes the right person will see your worth even when you can't see it yourself. And remember, you are worth saving. Your story isn't over. Don't give up.